top-notch performers, people in the industry that you want to pay attention to or recognize because of the strides they're making. Well, today's guest is one of those people. And today with me, I have Braithan Stoltenberg. And Braithan is a real estate agent in our local area here. And let me tell you, in a short period of time, and I'll let him get more into that story, but in a short period of time, just grew his business exponentially. So when we talk about people that we'd like to follow because we want to do what they do, this is one of those people. Welcome to Smart Money Moves. My name is Michelle Walker. That is Smart Business, Investing Money in Moves That Matter. And welcome today, Braithan. Woo!
I appreciate the nice intro, but my day job is real estate. My night job is exotic dancer.
Oh, yes, I forgot. I forgot to mention that? Okay, well, there's good money in that, too, in case you just didn't know.
For the short ball guys.
Yes, for the short ball. Hey, my husband's a short ball guy.
I know.
Yeah, and we won't talk about what he wears.
None of your business. Yeah.
We'll just leave that part out. So, Braithan, thank you for coming.
My pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming by and doing this with me. You and I have been friends for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, talk about, the presence and the natural ability just to connect with people in this real estate world. Did you think it was going to go this way? Tell us, Braithan, how you got started. What set you on the trajectory that you're on now? Come on.
I had no idea that real estate would end up being what it's kind of become for me. Rewinding the clock, this is my I'm working on my 6th year here in real estate now.
Okay.
And it's gone by, it feels like forever, but it's gone by so quickly. But rewind the clocks to kind of how I got into this, it was kind of like a last-ditch desperate measure, which seems like what real estate is for most people, like a second career, second time
part-time
type
gig.
Yeah. So I come from a law enforcement background before that, military, and I honestly saw myself being a cop forever, 20, 25, 30 years. I loved being in law enforcement, but my time was cut short. Without getting into the details, I did get into a little bit of trouble, ended up resigning, and I'm left with I got bills, I got no money, I got a wife I'm going to be married to, in 2 weeks from me resigning from my position. And before I knew it, I was pregnant, or not me, but my wife was pregnant.
Oh, no, you're pregnant too.
Yeah. These days you can be whatever you want. Right?
Yes.
So anyways, so I found myself kind of between a rock and a hard place back against the wall. And all I really wanted was to just replace my income. And in law enforcement, you have a decent income with overtime. And I figured I'm going to go work for PG&E. And my wife, or my soon-to-be wife at that time, she goes, "Well, Braithan, what about real estate? You should look into doing real estate. People like you. You're personable, And I just was like,
I think they're right.
I just at that time I had this impression. My mom comes from a real estate background, right? She still does real estate. Stephanie's amazing.
Yes. Stephanie is amazing.
She's the goat. But I had this sleazy used car salesman. I would never be a sales guy. That's just not my rap, right? But my wife really talked me into it. And I started doing some research, and I'm like, okay, I can do this, right? I did the math about what it would take to kind of replace my income. And again, I was desperate, so I'm used to grinding and working hard. So I just kind of put my nose to the grindstone. And before I knew it, and we'll get there obviously, but things got way bigger than I ever anticipated. So to answer your question, no, I had no idea.
Right. And, isn't it funny at the time that we sit in that moment or in that place where at that crossroad in our lives where things in our lives have exponentially changed,
mm-hmm.
right? You're going from one career
mm-hmm.
to another, not really knowing exactly where that's going to put you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fear based in
Tons
that, right?
of fear. I was so terrified.
So a lot of fear in that, and then you go to this place where it seems or feels like it's the darkest part of your life. Like,
yes.
I've got this family, I'm getting married, what am I going to do? I got to provide.
Oh, yeah.
The list goes on and on up here, right?
Yeah.
But then you get to that point where that pain takes you to that. It's because of that adversity, because of that fear. It's because you said, I can't do this anymore. And whether something caused that or you chose
mm-hmm.
it, doesn't matter how you get there. The rest of it's just geography.
Exactly.
Am I right, friend?
You are absolutely right.
Right. So just sometimes we need to get desperate.
Yeah, it reminds me of Tony Robbins. He made a speech once, and he said, how is it that when people someone in your family gets cancer and you can't afford the treatments, you don't have insurance, but then when the expectation is there, now you have to get past this hurdle financially in this case. You know what? You find a way to do it, and you can't really explain how, but it's a necessity that pushes you forward, right?
Right.
And for me, I found that was my key to growth. There was a necessity there. I knew it was either do or die. I just went full. One of my biggest strengths is that I can be hyper-focused on doing one thing. And a lot of real estate people, a lot of business people, they find themselves going in a million different directions and they can't really do any one thing great. I decided I'm just going to go all in on real estate, and that's all I'm going to think about, all I'm going to do every day, and I'm going to find a way to make it work, and that's what ended up happening. So,
well, that is a gift in this industry, right?
Yeah, it is.
In real estate, like, you can't be a squirrel.
It's easy to have the shiny object syndrome.
Oh yeah, and I can admit I kind of struggle.
It happens to the best of us.
I don't, like where some people are good in certain areas, other people excel in others, right?
Sure.
So I'm an extrovert. I love people.
Mm-hmm.
I love chit-chatting. I can be a social butterfly.
Sure.
And which is funny too, because we just did these DISC assessments and I'm hiring. So I'm going through these DISC assessments.
Are you like a DI type person?
I am a D. I'm a DI, kind of a, what is that?
Like an S or a C or something like that? Or...
Yeah. So I'm stable, not predicted, not predictable.
Yeah.
Anyway, but dominant. So I had to make sure I don't hire another alpha female.
Yeah. Right? I'm very DI. So
yeah. So, but there's the methodical thinkers. But back to that point, it's like, when in real estate, you have to be laser focused, but you also have to have that piece about you that's driven, work hard. This is not for real estate is not for sissies. It is not. It is not. You have to, and you have to be able to take rejection. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to find a solution even when they don't want one. Mm-hmm. Right? That's our job. That's how we make things happen. That's how we make our clients feel like we understand them.
Yeah.
So I think you have a super tremendous ability. Watching you online on social media, on your stories, talk about how you walk through those deals, right? For me personally, that gives me a super great insight on the kinds of transactions or the kind of clients or the kinds of homes, So was social media something that you feared or objected to at first?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So I
love this one.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, again, I was always a guy who had a social media. I never really posted anything. Maybe an occasional picture here and there, but it was really just my way to stop other people's lives, which is most people's use for social media, right? And that's not a bad thing.
Don't lie, you do too.
Yeah, I do it, and my wife does it. We all do it, right? Anyways, when I got going into real estate, I did, like I said, a lot of research about how to find your first deal, right? How am I going to find people that want to transact with me? And I hadn't quite figured it out. My wife said, "Hey, remember, you're likable. Let's get you out on social media. There's a bunch of people that really like you." And fortunately for me, there's a really popular podcast in the real estate space done by Joshua Smith, the GSD podcast. He's at the Phoenix marketplace, and he does a great job. Anyways, he had talked about sales and real estate specifically. It's all about getting people that like you, know who you are, know what you do, and trust you.
That's right.
And I didn't understand how to use those characteristics to my advantage, but my wife encouraged social media, and I was just really too afraid because there's a lot of rejection, and coming from out of the law enforcement space, everyone knew me as Braithan the cop, and now they're going to know Braithan the real estate guy. Things must not have gone so well being a cop, right? So I was very afraid. So I actually created this really cheesy post, right, about me being in real estate. My wife actually went out.
Do you have that still?
I probably could find it. Yeah, I probably could find it.
I think I want to see that.
I'll have to send it to you. So I actually went out in my backyard, put a polo shirt on. My wife took a few pictures of me, right, with her iPhone, 10 or whatever it was. And she goes, "Okay, here's the pictures. Let's put a little post announcing I'm in real estate." And I got the post already. I put some motivational music on in my earbuds just to make me feel good about it. And when it came time to actually click post on Facebook, at this point I wasn't on Instagram. I couldn't do it. I was too afraid.
Really?
And that's
fear of judgment?
Fear of judgment, fear of the rejection, fear of
not good enough.
Not good enough. Fear of people understanding that my life is now in free fall, right? And I have no idea what I'm doing, and people know that. And it was just tons of that negative voice in your mind that keeps telling you all the reasons why you can't or shouldn't do something, that was happening to me. And I actually had to call my wife over and not just talk me through it, but I had to actually have her click the post button for me.
Couldn't do it, huh?
I couldn't do it. I was terrified.
Fear can be crippling.
It can be totally crippling.
It's crippling, but it's like it all is dependent on whether or not you push the button.
Exactly. And
if you don't push the button, you're always going to wonder what could have happened.
Taking action, fear is the
so
number
important.
one obstacle to taking any kind of action in your life.
That's it.
And this was the very first point I learned about this, like where I actually processed it mentally. She posted it and it actually worked. People, I had heavily discounted my entire life how much people liked me, right? How much they just instinctively
likable, right?
trusted me. And then they saw me in real estate. People actually found it as an opportunity to say, hey, I need help. I know you don't know shit about what you're doing, but I trust you. I think you'll figure out how to do it.
Right.
And let's go for it. So I actually had my first client reach out to me from that post or second post, and I was off to the races.
That's incredible because I see you as that magnetic personality. You have that. I get it. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just that ability to be able to relate.
To connect.
To people, right? And understand and just listen. Like if we just listen to people and you connect with them on a level, then they as long as people feel like they're heard, then problems can be solved.
Yes.
We can navigate. And I don't think now, do you agree with me when people will choose people they feel like they can trust and they can know over experience?
100%. I lose deals all the time when I am the more qualified person.
Because people say all the time, well, they haven't been doing that long enough. They just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, but what I found is that, like, if me and Joe Blow go to, hit Joe Blow's mom's house or sister's house or best friend's house, oftentimes it's them choosing the person that they know and they feel more comfortable around versus choosing me when I'm more, I know what I'm doing, they don't. But it's the trust factor. So what I've learned is that by establishing trust early on, and I use social media to do that, not just professionally, but also personally, I build a lot of currency with my future and current clientele, and that allows me to bridge those gaps way faster and way more efficiently versus being a total stranger, right? So
yes.
To answer your question, yes, trust is the number one form of currency to be able to find and maintain clients.
Well, then too, there's that next level of business too, is when you build those relationships, because it's not about the transaction, it's about the relationship in what we do, right? And you find yourself being super connected to these people that, like, for me and my clients, like, we become family. Yeah. We laugh, we talk shit.
Oh yeah.
We,
you're involved in their life outside of real estate way more than you're involved in their real estate life.
And like there's invitations to our house, to each other's houses, and look at it's the incredible ability to make and have friendships that lead to more business. Yeah. And I mean, it's really the best of both worlds.
It is.
Sure, it can get stressful. Sure, it can get tough. And sure, things can go, a little crazy sometimes, but what better industry can we make and create our lives? Yeah. Our income, our spheres of influence, the people around us. We get to navigate who we are in our space. And I don't know about you, but I worked in corporate. You've worked in law. Things are dictated to you. Yeah. Things you are told to do things this way and this is the way it has to be done. Now we get to show off our creative side.
And what's
great.
It is great. And
Tell me how you do that.
Well, I never would have thought that, just speaking to what you said about creating your own life and how you want to do your own thing, I never knew how much of a rule breaker I was. I hate being put into
a rule breaker.
Yeah. I hate being put into a box of this is how you do things, right? And when I started getting some traction in real estate and helping more people, I started to develop my own style and recognizing, to your point, I can make my life whatever I want it to be. That's doing this, right? And it's so freeing. There's no limitations on what you want. If I want to be a Sarah Hedrick who's selling 100, 120 homes a year, or Parminder Singh, I could be that person. I'm gonna sacrifice some of my personal life and my time, but I could be that. If I want to work, if you work that hard, you can get those results. Or If you want to be somewhere in the middle of the road or a lower producer price because you value your own personal time, you could be that, right?
Yes.
And I love that to where I could throttle up and throttle down at my own.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I set the standard of where I need to be in my life because it can be tough sometimes. So tell me how you I know like real estate, this particular. Let's talk about this market in particular. Things obviously look to be changing or turning around a little bit, shifting the dynamic of it. Now, I personally have been in this business for 24 years and have seen a little more of the ebb and flow.
Yeah, the market cycles.
The market cycles, and as we go into this new one after coming out of, the change and everything, do you feel like you have, like, are you geared up? Like, how do you direct and navigate with your clients when they're in fear about purchase price or selling or interest rates? What is the conversations that you are having with your clients today about this type of changing market? Because you've been around long enough to know, like, it was tough. Like, let's see, you came in what year?
2019.
Okay.
18. End of 18.
Right. So you got through all the low hanging fruit. Right, you've been through that cycle, and then it got really tough. So now you've been through a cycle.
Or I'm in the process of it, at least. Yeah.
You are, but what an education experience.
Very educating.
Right.
Super fearful. Oh my gosh.
So now, like, there's more confidence in those conversations.
Oh yeah.
There's some history you can put it behind it, right? And so, like, how do you get people today to get through the hurdles of the market today?
Well, we're seeing, you have two different sides, right? You have buyers and sellers in my space, and so they're different conversations, but they all kind of boils down to way more hand-holding throughout the entire process, right? So the conversations that I'm having is understanding that, first off, we are not in 2021, 2022, 2020, right?
No.
Things are not as poppin' as they once were.
Conversations get a lot harder.
A lot harder. You have a lot more to navigate, right? So just setting good expectations up front with, hey, I've been in that market. It's crazy. It's its own kind of hard. Now we're transitioning into we're getting towards more neutral market now, right? So that's setting that expectation with buyers and sellers has been very, very difficult. What I'm telling my sellers is that, hey, you have got to have a way better pricing strategy than they sold here. I'm going to sell here, first of all. Understanding the importance of, marketing your house correctly, trying to find the right buyers, setting good expectations with how we're going to negotiate things like repairs, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And really ingraining those conversations in, because what I've found is that in real estate, we do in lending too, you do a lot of expectation setting. Right?
Absolutely.
And the number one way to have someone be very disappointed with their real estate experience is having an expectation that is not met.
Right.
So having that expectation conversation is really good up front. And then with buyers, making sure that they understand that you don't have a 2.5% interest rate anymore. You're not going to have a 3% interest rate. It's going to be more expensive, and that's okay. As long as we dive deep into your finances, help you understand that you can do this. This is still a good investment for you moving forward. If we're able to get through those objections and hurdles, it makes it towards a lot easier than the stomach that, okay, I'm buying in an up market with things being way more unaffordable, and that's just a temporary thing until interest rates come down,
right,
or their situation changes.
Right, and and I think that's absolutely correct. You have to have very realistic expectations, or set very realistic expectations with buyers, sellers, borrowers, in my case. And I think that they're relieved because their thinking was, I'm never going to be able to do this, or I don't really. When people feel like you are talking above them, speaking a language they don't understand, because they don't.
Yeah. We
have to be very careful. I always
it's a fine line to walk.
It is a fine line. I always tell people that, we don't talk in, in our mortgage language, to my team.
Yeah, your lender speak.
The mortgage language, because it makes them feel like they just don't quite understand, and they don't want to ask for help.
And it creates confusion, and confusion never helps the situation.
No, confusion causes chaos and anger, and we don't want them to ever feel upset, right? So that's, and this market, if you can, I think people like yourself, having that that vision, right? And that clear-mindedness and that ability to say, hey, I'm not going to be the one that doesn't make it. You have to have that.
Yes, you absolutely do, because it's really easy to put a limiting belief on yourself.
Right.
That says, the market's changing. We did
The
great.
first person that'll see it is your client.
Yeah, and we did great, but now we're not, and it's just, you have to fight that. And Jason Pritchard, who you had on recently, he talked about a shifting market, and he recommended a great book, and the book was called "Who Moved My Cheese?"
Oh yes.
Yeah, and he talked about that on his Instagram, and I actually got the book this in the very beginning of 2022 when the market was changing, and I was very fearful. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this lifestyle I'm used to, everything's going to change, and it took me a good 3 to 4 months to get over that hurdle and say, you know what, fuck this, I can do it.
Right.
People have done it before me plenty of times, and I'm going to be the guy that makes it, right? And I did, and I read that book, and that helped me talking about mindset.
Talk about books, though. Let me tell you, I read a book not too long ago, and I praised this book. It's called Your Brain is Always Listening by Dr. David Amen. And that book, game changer. Because it's all about
the perspective change. Yeah.
It is. And knowing which parts of my brain, and didn't, like, I don't know how many thousands of times I probably heard that my brain is a muscle. Like, what do you do with muscles?
You gotta train them. You gotta train them.
Right? Like, obviously, you've been doing. But, you got to train your brain. And you got to teach it to think and feel and react and control situations. And, so many times I think in a society where we talk about mental health issues, and the dynamic of stress into societal issues, and even in real estate in our market, it can be very stressful.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Do we like downtime? Necessary, right? Good books, getting that feeding, that nurturing of the spirit, that feeding of the brain.
Yeah.
Like those. Tell me what you and Nicole do in those kinds of, you know what I mean? Like, what do you do? What does Braithan do to digress?
To get out of that stress mindset, all the
so when you get back in, you're like ready to go. You're ready to hit the ground running. What do you do?
So a few things. This year I started actually with a health journey, so that's definitely helped my overall baseline of managing stress, which I had not done for many years, and that's helped.
They say that's the number one thing.
I totally would have said you're wrong.
Food and health.
Yeah, but you're right. It totally is. But for us, it's getting away, right? We have 2 young kids, now a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. They're wonderful little girls, but they're like me. They have
Which one is more like you?
So they actually, segueing really quick, they have, my daughters have my talkativeness. I'm always talking. I'm sure I know everybody, right? I've always got something to say, and I always want to go. But my wife is extremely intense. Very just type A. Bah, 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 bah. And so they have both those qualities together. Ooh. And it's a handful. Sure. God bless the young man that decides to make life. It's going to be very fun to watch. It'll be very fun to watch. But back to your question about stress, I found that it's funny because when I'm so busy, I never had time to go do anything, especially in 2021, 2022, when I'm selling 110 homes in a year. But I found now that I really like getting away. So my wife and I made a point that we're taking at least a trip every quarter. We're going somewhere. We're going to Carmel really quick, right? We're going to go play golf, right? Or we're going to go to Vegas and shop a little bit, get the food, all that stuff, the shows. Or we're going to go to Hawaii. We were just talking about that earlier, right? So we're getting me out of here, just out of this space into a different environment really helps me decompress, because I find like I get the most out of myself. I get to have quality time with my wife, which is the most important thing for me in my life, is having quality time with her. And that just really helps me reset and come back to work reinvigorated and ready to just hit the ground running and grind.
That, I too agree. I couldn't agree with you more, because, and what a space where we get to do this thing where we have control over our financial lives.
Yeah.
And over our time. That we can do stuff like that, right?
Well, it's easy to be a slave to this job. It's really easy to be a slave to the career
every day.
Yeah.
But you're right. I didn't start taking the necessary downtime because I was always afraid I'd miss the next one, or I wasn't going to be there for that.
Yeah,
or whatever.
But you learn, like you said, your brain is a muscle, and your brain learns over time how to deal with this. And people most times understand, right? They understand,
They
hey, you know
do.
what? Michelle works her tail off. Let me just give her a break, right? And I found that by being on social media, for me, people know what I'm doing in my off time, so it helps them be like, oh, Braithan's busy right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right?
It
It's like,
works.
well, I don't post a lot of my vacation stuff because I think I need
you
to post
should.
more of my work.
No, people don't care about that.
But I am now. I'm truly going. I'm embracing, obviously, this media presence.
Mhm.
The media presence. I love doing the podcast.
Yeah.
I literally love sitting down with people in our industry
We're talkers, though.
And-
We want to be out there.
and just getting to getting their feedback. I mean, for me, this is perfect. This is like, okay, if I'm going to do some sort of media presence,
Yeah.
this is my jam,
Yeah.
right? But I'm going to do more of. I'm getting more training into the social media aspect. In fact, I think I came to you not too long ago and I said, Braithan,
What do you
how
think?
did you do
Yeah,
that?
how do you do it?
What did you do? And,
Yeah.
and you gave me tips and tricks that I used,
Yeah.
and I loved it, and it
I'm
worked.
glad to hear that.
Yeah, and it worked. So, it's good to, and I do now, though, getting back to the whole digress thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to travel.
It's
Like,
fun.
I want to travel. I want to see different places, and I want to see it with my person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And with my grandkids now, because I'm a grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
I can really totally relate to Steph, and
Oh man,
She must be in love.
an angel.
your mom's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
She
she's
really
going to
is.
come on the show too.
She would love to talk your ear off.
Yeah. Me and Steph, we get along. I
Uh-huh.
love her.
She loves you. Yeah.
She's a wonderful, wonderful lady, and I bet she's just the most amazing grandma.
She is super grandma. Really.
Super grandma.
Yes.
Good.
100%.
Yeah, we'll have to go have a super grandma.
She was an alright mom, but better grandma.
Yeah, we always are. All of us are.
Of course.
Like, yeah,
Second time
I
around
made
is
all the
always better.
mistakes with my kids.
Yeah, second time around always better.
My grandkids, they think I'm the moon,
Oh yeah.
right? Like
I
I
believe
can't.
that.
I'm doing everything right this time.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm giving it back.
One time, so last week I came home right before my mom was supposed to get there. The kids knew grandma was coming, right? And I walk in, and there's a little, in our entry kind of foyer, there's a corner where the girls are hanging out at, and my little ones run over, and they go, they don't know it's me yet. They hear the door open because it chirps, and they go, Grandma, Grandma, and they go, oh, you're not Grandma, and I'm like,
Chopped liver.
I'm chopped liver. These
I know.
girls are
They
ruthless.
can make or break your heart
Yes.
in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and God, kids are so funny. But they're why we fight, right? They're why we do what we do. We're building legacies here.
Yeah, you have to have a huge why.
Wealth
Yeah.
through real estate.
Mhm.
And what better opportunity? I mean, real estate is the thing to do. Now, speaking of that general rate wealth through real estate, you have recently gotten into a little bit of real estate investing in
I have.
yourself.
Yeah.
When did that journey begin?
Well, it kind of began. So, my wife and I bought our first house in 2016 or 17 over in Southeast Fresno, and it was a great starter home. Right? We loved it, and when we moved in the house, as my daughters call it, the big house. We moved into the big house in 2021. We decided, because we're pretty good with finances, and so my wife and I were like, you know what? We're going to keep this house. We're going to refinance it out of a VA loan. I had a veteran's loan, and we used that VA loan on the purchase. And we decided that we're going to keep it as an Airbnb. We had some people that are in the Airbnb space that came out, so this would be a great spot for it. Let's check it out. And so we did that, and we actually had really good results. I originally wanted to make it a rental. I probably would have cash flowed $200-$400 a month. But my guy, Kyle Stanley, who ran a huge Airbnb business here in town, said, no, do it this way. You'll make. Yeah, he's great. He's online. He's the fearless investor, what it's called on
I've
Instagram.
heard that, yes.
Anyways, he goes, you'll make 3 or 4 times that if you do Airbnb. And we did it, and he managed it, and it was phenomenal.
Not any more difficult running short-term rental versus long-term buy and hold?
It's never difficult when you don't do shit. He handles everything. So I just bought.
Oh, I see. So he manages.
He manages everything.
So like the cleaning and everything.
all the
He's
turnover.
site.
If it was a hotel, it'd be like, I'm the hotel owner, and he's the owner. He's the operator.
He's the general manager.
He's general manager. Exactly. So he did that, and we started making pretty good cash flow with that. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. So we realized pretty early on, we got hooked up with a great tax professional here in town that specializes in real estate taxes. And shout out to Jeff John, he's a great CPA. And he said, hey, if you really want to offset your taxes and really take advantage of the tax code, buy more real estate and hold it. Right? I'm like, okay. So we kept our eyes open, especially after that. For our biggest income year, we didn't plan for any kind of tax depreciation, real estate purchases, nothing, right? I just save. Didn't spend any money on a business at all. Didn't have to. And we paid a shit ton of money to the government. Oh my gosh. And so I'm like, I'm never doing that again. So anyways.
Right, you have to reinvest.
You have to. So we bought more
properties. Everybody makes
properties.
money know that you have to reinvest.
Yep.
You don't want to pay taxes, invest in real estate.
Exactly. Amen. Shout out to the tax code because that is the number one. That's the number one underappreciated advantage. Anyways, bought our next property in 2022, renovated that one, and made that into an Airbnb as well. We really blew it out, made it amazing, and both those properties cash flow very, very well every year. Very, very well.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and once you get that rhythm going, it's back in, it just starts kind of...
You start looking for it, right? If you're not looking for it, you're never going to see it.
The reticular activator goes off.
Exactly. So when I see
deal.
I see a good opportunity, exactly, to take advantage. And then most recently we had
the red car syndrome. Right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. You're looking for it, you're going to find it.
That's right.
And then most recently we bought this real estate, and now we own 3 or 4 homes, and that's great. Nothing crazy, but now we're like, we better sell something. We've never bought and flipped and sold. We've always bought, renovated, and held on to it, right? So most recently, my wife and I got into a very inexpensive flip property. Made sense between, it was a referral to me. The deal made sense to buy at a low price, fix it up, put it back on the market. And it was a really good perspective change for me because being a real estate guy that helps people sell and buy homes all the time, it's easy to lose perspective from the client's side, right? The buyer and the seller. And being someone who had never sold a house before, I didn't understand some of the things that a seller goes through emotional. I'm always going to buy her, right?
Right.
So we sold this house, and damn, it was stressful, very cut and dry, right? But just the managing of the process, getting through the emotional hurdles of putting it on the market in a more neutral market.
So humbling.
It was very humbling, yeah.
Right?
And then I'm making some good money, but I learned a lot in that experience.
Do you like it? Do you like
loved it.
You love flipping?
I loved it, yeah. It was, this one was pretty cut and dry. It wasn't a big property. But what I loved most about it is that it gave me something to focus on other than just real estate sales, which is a way to decompress a little bit, right? And I've been doing this so long that I understand the numbers and how it works, and it takes a lot of the question marks, the fear out of it.
It's still in the same arena.
Exactly, but then also my wife got involved. And my wife being that type A person, when I'm not a project manager, that's not my strong suit, right? People are my strong suit, not managing projects. My wife really used that strength that she has, and she managed the whole thing. And she felt.
I saw her in there on the video.
Oh yeah,
saw her get in there.
It was the ghetto. It was in the ghetto.
You could tell
she
was delegating.
Oh yeah, it was in the ghetto of Fresno.
Get him, Nicole.
And she brought the girls out there. She's in her Beamer. She's doing this and that. And I'm like, babe, go for it.
Yeah,
handle it. Right.
And it went well.
And it went very well, and she felt a really good sense of accomplishment in doing that, a lot of sense of pride outside of being just a...
Boy, that can start a fire, you know that.
Oh, right? Yeah. And so we're looking for the next one. We have 4 or 5 we're working on right now.
Yeah. So I have yet to do my first one. I'm definitely getting into
You have to do at least one. It's so...
Yeah. So there's one I'm looking at right now, and, the numbers are looking like they're going to pan out. So... I'm very excited.
What's cool, you should be, and there's so many
very
people.
Excited.
There's not
you need that different flavor.
You do.
In this business.
Change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's cool is that there's a really big real estate investing community here in town that wants to just help you. They don't want any money. They don't want anything except to see you succeed as a person. And I cashed in on those relationships when I was doing my flips and my renovations before, where I'm like, hey guys, what's your perspective on this?
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I'll give you.
We have resources at every turn.
Yes, and it makes it to where it's super, like there's no competition. It's just, we want everyone to succeed, and I love that.
Yeah. I was getting so much good information from Jason when he was here, and I follow him regularly. And our own Scott Hanley is just a phenomenal flipper.
Yeah.
And real estate investor, and just, he is so generous with giving us, anybody who wants the information. Like, I'll sit down with you. We'll run the numbers, see if it works.
No big deal, and they're not going to ask for anything. And what I've learned...
It's such a generous community.
Well, you had talked about earlier on in the interview about how, making relationships and how it turns into business, and it's just... What I've learned is that by giving something with no expectation of anything in return, people want to reciprocate that.
They do.
Right? And so what these investors know is that if they're giving, it's going to come back. Whether you call it karma, God, whatever you want, those good deeds will come back around to you, and they're going to help you.
They are. And, generally, I think that the public's opinion of what we do is very competitive, right? And sometimes it really can be.
Well, I'll tell you right now, yes. Yeah.
But it really can be. And it's the nature of commissions, right? Commission sales job. But when we focus our attention on the generosity that we can provide, the giving, because I tell you, when I tell people out there, even in a challenge market, there's enough business to go around for the people that want it.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason for me to not want to help or help my fellow
It's
person.
a blue ocean strategy. There's plenty for everybody.
There is, and I don't ever want to think that, that I get into that greed syndrome or that.
It's really easy to do that.
Oh, there's so much of it out there.
I went through, I'm a very...
I just don't think that's, it doesn't bring happiness.
It doesn't bring happiness. It doesn't bring success. And
No.
collaboration over competition every time.
That's the one I was thinking.
What I've found is that for me in because I'm such a small guy, I'm loud, people have always kind of wanted to size me up, right? And I have I wouldn't call it little man syndrome, but people, I've always dealt with that. So I've always compared myself to other people, and that's not good. And what I found in 2019, especially when my business got legs in 2020, 2021, I was always in this competition mindset. Who's the best? I'm number one. I'm the best. I'm selling the most houses. And I made great money, but I was unsatisfied in that environment. And that's a very fragile mindset to have, right?
It is.
And then when the market change happened, and I dealt with some pains in that, I had to learn very quickly that mindset is not good when things are tougher, right?
No.
So what I found is that I was able to have the presence of mind to disassociate from that belief. And now I truly don't care. I want to be the best I could be. The competition is only with myself.
That's it.
It doesn't matter
Like
how
golf,
good.
right?
Exactly. It's all about you're the biggest
yourself.
competition is with yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
So
I got to tell you, that's my Zen place is the golf course, because that's the only place, the activity, hobby, whatever, that I have found that I can really just kind of get out there and just be with myself.
My wife makes fun of me. She goes, Braithan, you realize that you go out there and you're competitive, and if you're not playing well, it looks like you're not having a good time. I'm like, babe, you don't understand. The competition with myself, just being out of the course, my stress level goes like this.
It does.
And it may look like but I'm really not. I'm loving it. I'm soaking it in.
Same, absolute, totally relate to that, because even though I feel frustrated that I didn't make a good shot or whatever, but I just know that there's another one coming up.
Yeah.
There's another one. There's another opportunity.
And that's a mental exercise that you have to get better at over time, and it translates into so many other areas
Absolutely.
of your life. Right?
And I really do forget about the everyday, stresses of life when I'm out there. I think it's, golf to me is just I went out there to network. I originally started golfing to network.
And then it evolves into a big monster.
And it just became all about me.
Yeah.
But then again, I built wonderful relationships in that community, and I've gotten some pretty phenomenal business clients out there.
Exactly.
So, and then who have become friends, and now women's golf trips. And
that goes to show you the
stuff.
two things that we talked about already, is that people want to work with who they like.
Yeah.
And that there's business everywhere.
But don't you think it's too that you find your niches of people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, some people get their business from going to the gym. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've built relationships with people by going to the gym.
Yeah.
I built relationships with my golf community, and I built relationships,
in church, in your kids' schools, and all these places. Yeah.
So find something, but make it a place that you enjoy going.
You have to like it. If you there's so many ways to find business in real estate, right? There's so many ways to skin a cat, and there's no right or wrong way. But you have to pick something that you can be dedicated to doing every single day and really not find it super effortful.
It's not work.
It's not work. So I know there's a guy over in North Carolina named Kevin Mills. He makes thousands of cold calls every single day. He's the traditional car salesman guy. And he sells hundreds of homes. That's all he does. Isn't no buyers, just sellers, right? There's a guy that I know that does email over in Alabama. He does that every day and sells hundreds of homes every year. Guys that door knock, guys that pass out business cards, guys that do social media like me. There's so many ways to do it.
So would you say the primary content of your business is through your social media?
Oh my gosh, I'm meeting, yes, yeah, absolutely. I would say that's a crux of my business.
Okay, so tell me a little bit. Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
So on your social media, do you have more of a presence or get more followings on the stories, the posts, the reels? What's your
Good. That's a great question. So there's kind of a strategy. So remember, it's all about views and eyeballs, and then from there, the more views I have, the more people that get directed to my page. That's when I can develop sort of an online relationship with them. So I generate my content is basically three things. When I'm making a post like an Instagram reel, let's say, and most of my business is Instagram heavy, right? It's either doing a tour or a walkthrough of a property that's here for sale in Clovis or Fresno that I know people are going to like because of the area, amenities, or price points, and that gets a lot of viewers because everybody can digest that pretty easily.
Yes,
it's 30 seconds or less most times, right? And that brings people to my page. Or I'm posting something educational talking about the market or a challenge or a strategy in order to get an offer accepted or get through a sale or whatever. And then thirdly is sharing something about my family or my personal life, mostly my wife or my kids. And that is for relations, right? People that relate to me, that like me. And then when people are drawn to my page, now they're going to be, and they click the follow button, now they're going to be exposed every day to my Instagram stories. And on my Instagram stories is more of a behind the scenes, candid, a look at my life. I'm talking about my clients, I'm talking about hurdles, successes, I'm doing property tours, but most of it is just about me. I'm working out, I'm with my family, I'm teasing my wife, I'm on my trip, I'm doing whatever.
Laughing with the girls,
being a dad, being a regular person, because if people look at me as Braithan the salesperson, that's going to turn some people off. Yeah. But if people think of me as Braithan the dad, Braithan the dedicated husband, Braithan the guy, the goofball, they're going to say, oh, I'm going to reach out to the guy. I like him. I trust him. He's likable. And what I found is that when Michelle Walker is, someone I don't know that finds me on Instagram, they want to move here, relocate or whatever, when I have that first meeting with them, there's already a trust built because they've been watching my stories. It starts with them being attracted to a reel, and then they click the follow button, and now they're stalking my stories. And if we have a little bit of conversation in the DMs a little bit.
I mean, you're right there on my stories.
Yeah, exactly. Every day, right? I'm posting every single day. And then when they meet me, they can say, oh, Braithan, I love what you did with your daughters on her third birthday yesterday. I
feel like they know you.
So they know me, right? I'm not a stranger.
You're a part of their lives.
Exactly.
And what a great tool that is.
It's a great medium to be able to connect with more people on an intimate level, but at scale. Right?
Yeah,
and that is the key. Marketing. There are prospectors in real estate, in sales, people that go out there and do like direct to consumer, like trying to find business, and then there's marketers. I'm very marketing based with my social media in order to attract as many people as possible that can build a connection with me.
Yeah. I mean, and it's working because it doesn't look rehearsed, and it doesn't look. It's just you being you, and I've got to tell you though, not everybody can pull that off.
Well,
it's hard. People get nervous, or they get self-conscious, or they get a little, oh no, that won't work, and they delete and they retake and they delete and they retake. Well, those kinds of things.
It's a muscle, right? Like for me, I have a personality that lends more to doing this because I am kind of outgoing and goofy and gregarious, if you will. But it definitely took repetition of me being able to be willing to expose myself, and also
that's what I want to hear you tell people. It's like it's the practice.
You just have to do it, right? And at the same time, people really want to get into social media, fixate on having a really clean and crisp product that looks professional and well put together. Nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody. That's the dirty little secret when it comes to marketing and social media specifically, is you don't have to be polished and refined. You can be yourself. I see some goofballs on social media that I'm like, hey, how does this guy make any money? But people like it, right? And the bottom line is that Michelle Walker, Braithan Stoltenberg is going to attract some people, and I'm going to push some people away because personalities don't mesh or whatever.
Just gotta be who you are.
And just being authentic is the key.
I agree. Like, I don't even know how to be anybody other than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like me trying to be another kind of me is
it never works.
It's
true. And the biggest compliment a client gave me one time, And this is from Jordan King. And Jordan and I were supposed to get lunch today. It didn't work out. But we were in the middle of a transaction. He goes, Braithan, you know what I love most about you? And I'm like, is it my good looks? Is it
Of course.
And he goes, no, Braithan, I love that you're unapologetically Braithan.
That's it.
And I'm like, you know what? I can speak to that, and I wear that as a badge of honor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man, you know what? And I think we're just gonna leave it there, folks. I mean, honest to gosh, like, what other person can you be? So being unapologetically yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that fast sometimes. But thank you so much for coming on today. What a great conversation.
Can't wait to do it again.
I can't wait to share. You guys are gonna love this. But anyway, just remember, when you go on the page, share, like, and follow, and subscribe. So bring this to share this with your friends, your family, your coworkers, anybody that you know. This is great information. We always want to be able to bring that to you to help you grow your business, and share with me your ideas on what you want to hear, what topics come to mind for you, because that's what I'm here for. I want to help bring smart people in our investment community, in our financial community to the table, so we can share, because that's right. It's not about competition, it's about camaraderie.
Yep, collaboration.
And collaboration, and like mind share. That's what we do. So thank you everybody for tuning in.
And for all, hold on though.
Oh, please do.
And for all you first-time home buyers, seasoned investors, move-up buyers, Michelle is an exceptional mortgage broker.
Thank you, my friend.
She does a great job, very knowledgeable, very fun to work with. You'd have a blast with her. So reach out, please.
Yeah, and okay, same right for this. All right, you already know.
The short, loud, bald guy. Call him.
Call him. Yeah, today. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you so much, everybody. See you next time.